Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Viviana Valencia, and I'm the Executive Coordinator at Caldwell. We're continuing with the series Studying Canada, and for those of you who have not participated before, for this series, we have invited our member universities, so you have an opportunity to learn about their institution directly from the university. I would like to request our audience, if throughout the presentation there are some questions, if you can note them in the Q&A box, that is, it would appear the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, so our presenter can answer those questions at the end of the session. Before we start, I would like to take a few minutes to introduce Caldwell to those of you who are not familiar with the consortium. Sorry. So for those of you who have not heard about Caldwell, Caldwell is a consortium composed of 10 of Canada's EU15 leading universities, distinguished from other Canadian universities because of their strong research focus. Our members consist of the University of Alberta, University of Calgary, Dalhousie University, Université Laval, McMaster University, the University of Ottawa, the University of Saskatchewan, the University of Toronto, the University of Waterloo, and our guest today, Western University. So what do we do at Caldwell? So Caldwell see it as a bridge between you, the prospective graduate student, to our 10 member universities. What we do is we offer a range of free services to students. Some of the services include, for example, assistance with the steps to apply for graduate programs at any of our member universities, guidance on how to contact professors for thesis, your thesis supervisor, and also information and scholarships through the agreements that we create with the countries that we work in Latin America. Some other information you can also find on our website. I strongly recommend for you to visit our website because we have excellent tools there. For example, steps to apply to a graduate program, testimonials from previous and current graduate students in Canada, application requirements and equivalences. We have lots of information for you as prospective student in our website. And for me, I've been saying this in most of the winners, but it's really one of the most wonderful tools that we have in our website. And that is a search engine where you can see which of our 10 member universities offers the program that you're seeking. For example, if you're looking for a master's degree in, let's say, communication studies, then you can select communication studies, master's degree, and it will then display all the programs that our 10 member universities offer in that area. If after you visit our website, you still have some questions, I will invite you to complete this form that you see here on your screen. And this comes as a pop-up on our website. And there we ask for you to provide us, I'm sorry, a bit more information on about yourself and your specific case. That way we can then communicate directly with you and answer those specific questions that you may have and for which you might not have the answer or we have not found the answer in our website. Well, with this brief introduction, now I would like to introduce our main guest today, and is Dr. Carolyn Ford from Western University. Carolyn, thank you very much for joining us today. I will stop sharing my screen so you're able to start your presentation.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Viviana. Just give me a moment while I get my slides up on the screen, and then we will continue.
Sure.
And so I do hope people see some slides now. I'm just going to try and get this into slideshow view.
Yep. Yeah, we're seeing now. Yeah, the PowerPoint.
Although typically when you click slideshow, yes, from the beginning, that's always good. And it also helps if the slides will advance, which they are not. Oh, some days you've got to love technology. All right, perhaps I will get out of SlideShare and just do things the old-fashioned way. This way I think I have more control. All right, so as Bibiana mentioned, I'm Carolyn Ford. I'm from Western University, and so I am delighted to have this opportunity to share a bit more information about Western University, as well as information about the City of London, where we're located in Ontario, and to give you a glimpse of what graduate student life would be at Western and here in London. And so I'll have some specific things to share about London, about Western as well. But really, I want to spend a significant amount of time giving you the tools so that you are able to find resources and do additional research yourself. So to start us off, the City of London. Of course, it's always a little bit strange when you've got a famous name that belongs to another country as well, but Canada does have a London, and we're located in Ontario. We're fairly large for Canada because we have a population of over 383,000 people. So that's large for Canada. What that means for incoming master's and doctoral students is we're fairly easy to get to know in a short period of time, but we also have highly sophisticated large city amenities. We are the economic, cultural, and educational hub for all of southwestern Ontario. And we'll see a map in a moment, but in your mental map, if you have a sense of where the city of Toronto is and where the city of Detroit is in Michigan, US, then we are on an axis that that connects Toronto and Detroit by road, train, air. Now, London is known as the Forest City because not only do we have a lot of trees, but we have a lot of parks and green space for people to get active outside and exercise. And one of the best ways to explore the City of London as an incoming student is a website called Your London Calling. And it's important because that site is maintained on a regular basis, and it's by students who are currently here, and they can make recommendations to you as incoming students about how to get settled in, how to participate in student life, and how to enjoy London as the city where you're doing your master's or doctoral work. As promised, here's a map. And so obviously we're in Canada, but it just so happens we're in the portion of Canada that dips way far south into the Great Lakes region. And so we're actually quite far south. There are places in the United States that are farther north than where we are in the City of London. We have Lake Huron to the west and Lake Erie to the south. And so one of the popular things for people who live in London and for students is to get away on the weekend, because it's 30 to 60 minutes to sort of lake country. Enjoy some time at the beach at the Great Lakes. On the left-hand side, you see some shots of our downtown. My personal favorite here is that cycle path that you see on the bottom right-hand of the page, because one, you do see, yep, there are some trees here for the Forest City. But that particular path also connects me from where I live on the south side of the city, heading up north to the Western campus. So during the summer and fall months of the year, I can actually commute to work by bicycle path. I also see many graduate students in my neighborhood either commuting to campus the same way, or also I am very close to a bus route, so sometimes I take the bus up to work. So very active and healthy lifestyle, both as somebody who works at Western, but also for Western's students. Now, I had already mentioned the Your London Calling website, but this gives a little bit more of a sense of that when you visit this particular page, you can toggle the settings. Now, the setting that it's currently on is settling in, and that's because that's one of the first things you would want to know is how do I make my way around London? Where can I find stores, shops? What neighborhood would I like to live in? What activities are there to do? Settling in is an important topic, but there are other topics there as well. And as I mentioned, because it is by students for students, you are getting the information that is timely and direct from current people who are currently living, studying, working in London. So I do highly recommend that site as part of your Canada and Western graduate degree exploration. A little bit more about Western. We certainly aim to deliver Canada's best student experience. We've been around since 1878, so more than 140 years now. If there are any members of the group that are mathematicians, computer scientists, or applied mathematicians, the specific building that we see in this picture is Middlesex College, which is the home of those departmental programs. And you know, the rest of campus looks this beautiful too. The style of architecture is collegiate Gothic. For some of you, that might make you think of Harry Potter and the Hogwarts books. There's definitely a very classic, beautiful and timely feel to living and working on campus. And some statistics at the bottom of the frame. Overall, we are in the top 1% of all universities worldwide. And then we are one of Canada's research-intensive universities, as are, you know, all of the Caldwell universities, because we belong to the U15 group. And then in terms of how we're connected to the rest of the world, you know, we're a large university. Just as the City of London has about 383,000 people, well, there are about 39,000 students on campus. So not only are we 10% of the population of the City of London, but over the years, we have produced a large number of graduates who live and work worldwide. So over 300,000 in total. We have, at last count, we had over 5,200 international students. I am sure for this fall that that is more. The statistic is a little bit outdated. Last but not least, at the undergraduate level, which is, you're not exploring the undergraduate level right now, but just to give a sense of the volume of studies and programs that we have over 400 undergraduate programs in the arts, sciences, and engineering. What this will mean for you at the graduate level is that we have master's and doctoral programs in those fields as well, about 90 in total. It's almost easier to say what we don't have. For the people, you know, attending this presentation, if you are interested in fields such as pharmacy, architecture, optometry, veterinary medicine, or logistics and supply chain, those are the few programs that I would say that you would not look to Western for, simply because we do not have those options. But pretty much everything else, we could possibly have a program that is of interest to you. And then I provide a brief map of campus here, but really there are a greater variety of maps available by coming to the website that is run by our geography department. And really the sense that I'm hoping to share from this particular map is that we are a campus community. Every single one of our programs, faculties, and 39,000 students is living, studying, working within the area of this campus. On the right-hand side of the map, you see a strip of blue, which is a river that bounds much of campus on the eastern side. We are in the City of London, so no surprises guessing the name of that particular river. It is indeed the River Thames, just like London, England. And if you remember that picture of the cycle path parallels the River Thames. And that is the route that I take to cycle to get onto campus every day. Now, let's switch to a little bit more of an academic focus at Western. I had mentioned that it is one of the top 1% of universities in the world. Specific areas in which we are recognized for our excellence and leadership include the areas of education, research, and particularly healthcare, as we do have a university hospital on campus, as well as a medical public health research community. Overall, the level of research facilities and infrastructure is first class, and we have funding packages to match, as evidenced by our participation in the Caldwell network, and we are Canada's 4th largest academic library system. You've likely attended presentations by other Caldwell University members and have probably heard the phrase Canada Research Chair, Canada Excellence Research Chair. Overall, Western has 66 research chairs and 1 Canada Excellence Research Chair. So an extensive community of high-achieving researchers in a variety of areas. And we'll take a look at those areas in a moment. The overall annual research funding exceeds 240 million Canadian dollars. And last but not least, if you've ever heard of the conglomerate 3M, of course, they're quite famous right now because they are the creators, manufacturers, and distributors of the N95 mask that a lot of people are using during this time of COVID-19. Well, that company, 3M, has an award in Canada for teachers for researchers who are excellent teachers and professors in the classroom. We're very proud at Western that we have more 3M award-winning faculty than any other Ontario university, and we are ranked 2nd overall across Canada. So great place to be working with professors, researchers who are also excellent teachers in the classroom. Now, this is what I promised, that we would name some specific names of where Western has decided to dedicate and invest hiring of new professors, new researchers, endowing of research chairs, as well as in terms of our master's and doctoral programs, making sure we have high-achieving graduate students in support of these particular areas. So as you take a look at this list, if these areas match your area of interest for a master's or doctoral degree, then it is quite possible Western could be a great match for you. Neuroscience, of course, involves not only medical science, but also psychology as well as philosophy. And we have a Brain and Mind Institute dedicated in support of excellence in neuroscience. Related to that is imaging, because of course we don't know everything about what's going on in the brain. So imaging excellence is also key with respect to the study of neuroscience, but imaging is an important research topic in its own right. And then the other programs quite naturally match onto other programs. The next 3 topics in materials, wind engineering, and sustainability match our faculty of engineering, our faculty of science, as well as other areas in policy, political science as well. The arts are well represented with philosophy, in particular, philosophy of science, and then rounding out physics, astrophysics, and then musculoskeletal health. So once again, sort of the mechanics of the human body. So if these topics really resonate with you for your master's or doctoral plans, as I mentioned, Western could potentially be a good choice for you. And we'll take a look at rankings a little bit later in the presentation. But for the moment, let's take a look a little bit at, what is life like as a graduate student at Western. So there will be your specific graduate program or department. But in addition to what you're learning in the classroom or in the lab or in terms of your research, you have access to academic and co-curricular supports in the form of academic reading, research, and writing. And that's from our Teaching Support Center and Writing Support Center. The academic program is excellent, but of course that's not enough for career and professional success. Because as we all understand these days, graduates of master's and PhD programs, it's not a guarantee that you are going to go on to the academic track and be a professor. There are many areas of endeavor these days that need high achieving professionals that have master's and PhD degrees, but that they are not going on to a career in the academic track. And for that reason, Western created a series of career and professional development supports called Own Your Future. And for some reason that made my iPad turn on. I have no idea why that happened. And we'll take a look at Own Your Future, what exactly that is and what supports it provides in just a moment. We also want you to be able to talk about your academic program and your area of research and be able to talk about that to a non-specialist audience. And for that reason, Western is an enthusiastic participant in the 3-minute thesis competition. It is a communication competition. You have exactly 3 minutes, no more, to talk about what your research is in non-specialist terms and to talk about its potential impact. And so that competition takes place on campus as well as provincial and national level. And Western students do quite well in these competitions. Last but not least, there is a Society of Graduate Students that is quite active both socially, but also in terms of policy, advocating to departments, faculties, and the School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies for the supports and systems that graduate students need to succeed. So Own Your Future as a professional program. If you can see sort of the optional bars at the website, you would be able to see that it is a series of workshops, cafes, networking, as well as self-assessment about what your strengths are and the ability to connect with a team that you will be able to develop your career, professional network, and skills to supplement the academic learning in the lab and the classroom. We also have some enhancements in progress. And you will probably see these types of supports at any other Ontario universities that you are looking at. And that is because entrepreneurship, the ability of a young professional to take a new idea, create a company, provide a product or service that is of value to the wider community. Entrepreneurship is a hot topic right now at universities worldwide. And so here in the Western context, we have dedicated programs and space in our Propel Entrepreneurship Center. I recently took their series of web classes on essential skills for the entrepreneur so that I would have a sense of what they're teaching and how they are creating communities and networks among current Western students and graduates. And I was very impressed, the quality of the program and how they are teaching people to be entrepreneurs, very, very rigorous, and you will have access to those opportunities as a Western student. Last but not least, another popular development for students at the master's level is to make sure there are more opportunities for experiential learning and internships. In preparing this presentation, I did not have a chance to get an update as to how that has developed. And so I am certain that there are more details available about that now, but I will have to connect with Bibiana and Caldwell on that separately. But that is one of the series of enhancements that's in progress for current graduate students. And now from this point, I want to sort of shift to sort of my last topic, which is a resource tour. We're going to take a quick look at the School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies website, proceed to the International and Exchange Student Center, take a look at the possibility of either living off campus or living in the vicinity of campus in a graduate student university-owned apartment. We'll take a look at the Society of Graduate Students. And then last but not least, I will share with you how you can see where Western is top 50, top 100, or top 200 in the world in specific departmental or program rankings. So let's dive in. First of all, the School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. Coming to this website is very, very important. By coming to this particular page and then selecting the level of degree that you're interested in, and then putting in a keyword for the program, communications, engineering, philosophy, political science, whatever the case may be, you will be able to see every master's and PhD program that Western has, And then when you click through to the specific program website, you will see additional information such as application requirements, admissions requirements, deadlines, next start dates at Western. There's also a summary of, in any given field, what are Western's strengths, so that you will have a sense of whether it's engineering, political science, or philosophy. Well, what kind of engineering, political science, or philosophy are we strong at? That is another one of the ways in which you will know whether Western could be a good match for you. And then also, every program at Western will have a graduate program coordinator by name, by telephone, by email, so that if you have additional questions above and beyond the information presented at the Graduate Studies website, you have a real person that you can contact and who can reach out, respond, and provide you with support. Because we do have like those 90 different programs, like I would be hard pressed to know the application and admissions requirements for every single one of those 90 programs. So think of it as some of your first level of homework or research that you're doing is isolating down to the highest quality programs that are of interest to you. If you do become a Western student, then we have an International and Exchange Student Center that is here to support you as an international student on campus. Whether it's immigration consulting, whether it's activities, social, networking, counseling, there are a variety of supports that are available to you within the International and Exchange Student Center. And all of that is covered. Like, you are on one of these scholarships that is funded by your home country government, and you are working together with Caldwell. This access to the International and Exchange Student Center is something that your programming and those fees is already covering. So you'd have a choice of, you're coming to London, you're coming to Western, you'd have to think about, where am I going to live? In the context of graduate student accommodations, that there is some accommodation on campus. There are also university apartments. So not only are you earning your degree at the university, you are also likely working for the university as a teaching assistant or a research assistant, but the university is also your landlord, because we have a significant number of housing units available on campus or right next to campus. And so coming to housing.uwo.ca and clicking through to these options is one way to explore what's available to you. Obviously, if you live close to campus, then you're spending less time of your day commuting to and from campus. But that said, we have an off-campus housing office because we realize some students will be happier living off campus. And so our off-campus housing assistants can help you find a suitable place to live in London prior to arriving in Canada, at a distance from campus, on a transit route to campus, and meeting a budget that suits you. So an off-campus advisor, I think of that as somebody who is dedicated to support you when you are coming to Western and you are looking for a place to live. And as I said, in the neighborhood that I live in, I clearly have a lot of graduate students that live in my neighborhood because I either see them on the cycle path to and from campus, or they're riding the same city bus that I am to and from campus. We also have, as I mentioned, the Society of Graduate Students. Not only is it advocating for you, but they run the Graduate Club. A great place for a snack, refreshment, lunch, dinner. It is in the heart of campus, in Middlesex College, the building that we saw previously. One of my favorite things about our graduate club and how we structure your time as a graduate student is that we celebrate very significant milestones in the life of completing your degree. You see a goblet in the center of this page. It is called the Goblet of Knowledge. As you complete your master's or doctoral degree, you can book the Goblet of Knowledge And then you, your friends, your professors, your examining committee for your thesis, you can head on down to the graduate club. You have booked the Goblet of Knowledge. You fill the Goblet of Knowledge with your favorite beverage, and you take a drink and you celebrate in the company of friends, colleagues, and faculty this wonderful degree that you have just completed. So Western definitely has a sense of these important milestones, the ceremony, the importance of what you have just accomplished in completing your degree. And don't have too much more to share, but I did promise, how do you find that more detailed information about ranked programs? Well, this information is held by a particular unit on campus where they've gathered this information from ranking sources worldwide. So to come to the institutional planning and budgeting website, which up in the URL bar is listed as ipb.uwo.ca, you would be able to look at the ranked programs information. It's under a topic called performance indicators. When you click in those performance indicators, you have the opportunities to select the internationally ranked faculties, schools, and departments. On the left-hand side, you'll be able to make selections for top 50, 100, 150, or 200. You'll be able to see which ranking source it came from, the annual ranking of world universities, or QS, or Times Higher Education Supplement. You will be able to choose the ranking source. And then when you have that popped up on the screen, now because I took a screenshot, you won't see this go live. But when you are actually on the website and then you are clicking through to the stacked columns, you will be able to click on a portion of a stacked column and then see which specific programs by department are in top 50, 100, or 200. So that is one location where you would be able to see where we are truly the best in the world, top 50, 100, or 200. And that's the information that I wanted to make sure that I shared with you as a group of prospective students getting involved with Caldwell, exploring your Canadian university options. And so I definitely want to thank you for spending some time with me, getting to know a little bit about the City of London, the one in Canada, and then Western University. And so at this point, I'm done with my formal remarks, but of course, both Bibiana and I want to be available for questions that you may have. Please do keep in mind that I am not an expert on each and every one of the 90 master's or PhD programs. And so certainly of the group participating on this presentation, I'm sure you're going to be very interested now in some of the application and admissions requirements. But my response to that will be is that I will encourage you to come visit our graduate studies website. And with that in mind, Bibiana, do we have any questions?
Sure. Thank you very much, Carolyn, for the presentation. And we do have a couple of questions, so I'm just going to go through them. And before I start asking the questions, I'd just like to remind our audience that if for some reason, due to time, I'm not able to go through all of the questions, we will save them and reach out to you later with the answer to those who were not able, or those that we were not able to address. And also remember that we are going to be providing you this session, in case the recording of the session, just in case that you want to go through the links that Carolyn showed during the presentation, so you can go back to it and refer to it. Okay, so with this in mind, Carolyn, so one of the questions from our audience is, could you explain a bit of the difference between a master's, like a research master's program where you need a thesis, and a professional master's program?
And so at Western University, we tend to call these either Tier 1 or Tier 2. And we created, just as other universities did, we created those two categories for a reason. There is still the traditional master's degree, which you would still select a research topic, you would write a master's thesis about it. Then the traditional master's degree certainly still exists. And for a student thinking, I want to go on in academia to either PhD and then possibly to be living one's life as an academic in the future, the traditional master's degree with thesis is still a very, very important step to take. At the same time, we also understand that there are about to be graduates from a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science program who want to benefit from more intensive knowledge at the master's level, but they're not necessarily thinking, and they're thinking of it with an eye on the future career in mind, but that future career is not academia. So there are master's degrees that are either purely by coursework, project work, and that there is a sort of very set curriculum and selection of courses for those. Engineering is a good example of this because there's a Master of Engineering Science, which is going to be 2 years or 6 terms, and definitely has research and a thesis with it, versus the Masters of Engineering, which would be 1 year or 3 to 4 academic terms. And the Masters of Engineering is for somebody who is a working and practicing engineer who, they want that higher level of engineering knowledge, but the intent there is not to go on to get an academic degree or have an academic career in engineering. And so that's why there are those 2 different categories of master's degrees in many, many fields. And all of them are listed at the Grad Studies website. And, obviously your funding body likely has specific preferences as to the type of master's degree they want you as a fully funded student to earn.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. And actually, you touched on the next question, which is, are there any scholarships available for grad studies? I could tell you that from Caldwell, we have agreements with funding agencies from 9 countries in Latin America, those being Brazil, Mexico, Peru, Panama, Uruguay, Paraguay, Ecuador, Chile, and yeah, you can visit our website for more information on the different types of agreements and what programs are they funding. Again, you can also send us an email or fill out the form that I mentioned at the beginning of the session for more specific information in terms of the requirements for each of those funding opportunities. But other than that, Caroline, do you know if Western offers any other sort of funding outside of those agreements?
Well, so if I'm a prospective master's student or graduate student and I'm looking through the Western website at programs, one of the key things, so I'm going to make 2 points. One of the key things to look for is at master's level, and I'm reading that program description, I want to read whether Western has funding available or whether it has financial assistance available. If it says funding is available, then there is additional information about specific funding packages for admitted students and what that funding consists of. If there's not a funding package, but there's financial assistance, then that is where it can be a bit more challenging for the student, because funding package means dedicated funding. Financial assistance, could be a combination of financial aid, loans, or loan guarantees from, an external bank. So if I was in the position of many of the listeners of this presentation and I'm looking for a graduate program, one of the key things I'm looking for is whether funding is listed as part of the program options versus financial assistance. And then the second point that I wanted to make is that Western, like other universities worldwide, we know we are competing for the best prospective doctoral students out there. And for that reason, ever since fall, September of 2018, for our doctoral programs, the fee schedule for Canadians versus international students. Well, for doctoral programs, international students have fees set at domestic student rates. And that's because we know we are competing with every other institution in the world for the best doctoral talent out there. So for viewers of the presentation and you are applying to a doctoral program, please be aware that, that the tuition will be set at the domestic rate. And then for you too, you are looking at funding versus financial assistance. The funding packages are much more expansive and cover more expenses.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. So the next question, I'm wondering, Carolyn, because I see similar questions from the audience in terms of language requirements. Could you point out to our audience where they can find information in terms of the language requirements that the university, that the students required in order to apply to different programs? And also, if the university offers some conditional offer for in terms of language. Some of our members, depending on the program that they're applying, if the students fulfill all of the academic requirements, but let's say the English language is not at the level that required for the student to enter the program, sometimes they will offer a conditional offer, provided that the student within some time would meet their language requirements in order for the student to start the graduate program.
Oh yes, excellent questions. And so for the specific English language proficiency requirement, that is listed at each program site. And because each graduate program has the power to make its own application and admissions requirements, those minimum requirements can be different from program to program, which is why it's important to come to that grad.uwo.ca page to see what the specific requirement is for English language proficiency for your program of interest. And then as well, once again, each graduate program has the power to say, during the time of application, do I want to see that the English proficiency requirement has already been met? Or do we want to be willing to extend conditional admission pending an improvement in English language proficiency? Every graduate has the program to set its own unique standards in that regard. But the good news is that that information is in detail at each one of those graduate websites. There are many graduate programs that do allow conditional admission to a program. And then in terms of the academic English language training and programs available, Western does have an English language center on site. So that is a popular option for many students, is that if they've got that conditional offer of admission, that they are already here in Canada, in the City of London, they are on the Western University campus, they're at our Western English Language Center, meeting that level of proficiency needed so that they can go on to be very successful in their academic program. But that also will be listed at the program website. So both of those key pieces of information are there.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. Something related to the English language. Do you know now, due to COVID, some institutions are accepting Duolingo? Do you know if Western is one of those institutions that could accept Duolingo in the interim?
Thank you for asking that, Viviana, and then to the original person that asked that question, because I did not have a chance to update this presentation to reflect the current situation with COVID-19 and the coronavirus. But yes, in many instances, but not all, in many instances, the School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies is accepting Duolingo test results as proof of English language proficiency.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. So another question, and this is very specific in terms of that this student has already been accepted for a PhD program at Western. Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and so his question is, if you know, or what advice do you give this person in terms of getting information on when or how can he get to Western now that there's some limitations in terms of traveling from country to country, basically.
So my best recommendation is, and perhaps I should, do I see the chat functionality? Perhaps I should type this into the chat functionality. So it is our International and Exchange Student Center that I think can best assist you with the questions that you have. And so, okay, I should be able to do all panelists and attendees. So I'm just going to, I'll do the website, but I'll also do their inbound email box.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Carolyn. Also, while Carolyn is writing that, I would like to remind those of you, because I saw some questions in relation to supervisors. The question, Carolyn, is if you recommend the students, prospective students, to get in contact with the supervisor before they apply for a graduate program. And I would like to remind you that next week, on July 30th, we're going to have a webinar just on to provide basically tips and information on how to contact a supervisor and what you should include in your application for grad studies in terms of your statement of research. I'm sorry, no, your statement of interest. But can you let us know, Carolyn, for Western, what would you recommend?
Well, I mean, first of all, given that that session is taking place in the near future, I definitely recommend that students attend that, because reaching out to a professor who you think there might be a good match between the work that they do and what you want to study and what you want to become an expert in, you know, you've got to keep in mind that you are reaching out to somebody who is probably incredibly pressed for time. And so following the tips and tricks that you will learn at this upcoming webinar, I think you will want to follow those. I can say in a general way that every faculty and department at Western, we have rosters of our professors and researchers, and generally these professors and researchers have their history and their research interest on the departmental and faculty web pages. So once again, there's that sense of doing some digging, doing some research, or think of it as homework, whatever you will, because, you know, once again, we might say, I've got a faculty of engineering, but you'll want to take a look at electrical, civil, chemical, computer and software. You'll want to take a look at those specific departments, see the professors in that program, because if you're seeing, you know, if you're seeing that the professors and what they do in terms of teaching and research matches your interest, then you are now creating a potential list of people to reach out to with the statement of research interest, and all of the other things that you're going to learn at the upcoming webinar. But the reverse of that is, if you're seeing that the faculty and their research interest doesn't match your interests at all, then you kind of have a different list where this is my non-contact list. I now see that here's a particular university or department where I'm interested in biology, but all they do at this university is marine biology, and I'm not interested in marine biology. Well, it helps you either put a department, faculty, or university on your popular list, or it allows you to take the person/university off your list. Because that information is publicly available, I think spending time to sort of get to know the professor on paper, so to speak, is very, very important. That way you will come up with a very strong list of people that could be good people to reach out to rather than reaching out to people that are not good matches for you. That really is the best and most general advice I could offer on that particular topic.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. So the next question, Carolyn, is from Felix Vasquez, and he would like to know if housing, for on-campus housing, are students able to bring their spouses with them? Basically, they're able to cohabitate in on-campus housing.
So, I mean, yes, there is graduate student accommodation that in Western apartments or the off-campus estates, particularly what we would call the Platts Lane estates. There is graduate student accommodation that allows for spouses, children, and dependents. Yes.
Great, thank you. Also, I have another question, and this is, and my apologies, my phone, as always, they rings when it's not supposed to. Yeah, so the next question would be about a student who has dual citizenship. And he's wondering if, due to his citizenship, if he still needs to do a language test to apply for a graduate program, of being Canadian will suffice to fulfill that criteria.
Another excellent question, but the answer to that is it depends. Western University actually reserves the right to request proof of English language proficiency from any applicant to any degree program. Simply possessing permanent residency or citizenship of Canada does not imply proof of English or French proficiency. So I have seen a limited number of cases where it is possible that a Canadian citizen does get a request to provide proof of English language proficiency. Now, that said, we're talking about folks who, you're applying for a master's or a PhD. If you did your undergraduate degree in an English medium institution, then that by itself quite likely provides the proof that is necessary. So it will depend on the particular circumstances of the person, but status in Canada as a citizen or permanent resident does not guarantee a person won't be asked to prove proficiency. But that said, I don't know the particulars for Mr. Vasquez. As an applicant, he may or may not be asked to provide it. It will really depend on academic and language background, more than it would depend on citizenship in Canada.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. So due to time, those are the questions that we're going to be able to answer in this webinar. Again, for those of you, for those questions that we're not able to answer, we will try to get back to you via email, as we have the emails. If you noted your name, then the name is associated to your email address. And I would like just to thank you for your time, Carolyn. I don't know if there's something that you would like to add.
No, I'd just like to say, thank you for Caldwell to hosting, and thank you everybody for participating in this information session. Wish you lots of luck and success as you explore which institution in Canada could be the right fit for you.